So, hello everyone. So, during the next 50 minutes, I will share with you my experience with diagnosis systems. So, I really believe we cannot have a high-level service practice to our patient if we don't do a proper diagnosis before, during, and after the protocol of treatment. Before, to decide which one is the best protocol of treatment for our patients. Should we apply laser, a peeling, a filler, which kind of laser, how deep, how to program the device. So it's absolutely necessary. Second, because doing the treatment, if the protocol takes 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions, 2, 3, 4 months, we need to be sure that the sensation of the patient corresponds to the reality we are expecting. And at the end of the treatment, to be sure how much is the level of efficacy we have with this protocol, with this kind of patient, to be able to talk in a much more confident way to the next patient and to give them the proper expectation of any treatment. So Cortex, I will tell you from now, is a 50-year-old company. They have a lot of experience developing technology for the high industry, the big laboratories, when they develop a new cosmetic, a new product, a new peeling, or even a new laser to test the skin conditions and the change on them. And they came also to the market of dermatology, plastic surgery, and aesthetics recently with a device which is a bit smaller, cheaper, to be able, for us, like doctors, to be able to control what we do and how to do it better. Okay? So for me, Cortex is an amazing technology to know exactly the condition of the patient. We say condition is how much hydration have the patient, how much sebum. Say sebum is not just for acne patients. So if I want to apply a radiofrequency to my patients, if we have an excess of sebum, the radiofrequency is not going to penetrate the electrical. So I need to do some kind of salicylic peeling. So to know exactly the level of sebum without measuring it is impossible. Hydration, extremely important. If I apply, for example, a CO2 laser, an ablative laser, I need a minimum level of hydration in the skin. If I don't have it, I will need to put much more energy, much less efficacy, and much more secondary effect. The light is not going to penetrate, and we're going to have much more superficial burn and much less bulk heating of coagulation. Can we measure it? Yes. And if it's low, what can I do? You have plenty of solutions. You can do microinjections or mesoneedling with non-reticulated hyaluronic acid. So we have plenty of solutions to prevent a lack of result. So related with that, pH, we'll see later. Why to measure pH? Probably all of you try to help your patients with specific cosmetics post-treatment. So depending on the pH of the skin and the pH of result of the cosmetic and the skin, the results and the sensations and the efficacy will change. Also necessary. Melanin. So we all treat melanin with peelings, with blanching creams, with Q-switch laser, with IPL. So it's important to know how much is the concentration of melanin in the epidermis, in the dermis, how to put the proper protocol of combination, IPL plus Q-switch, only Q-switch and the laser, only superficial peeling, only blanching creams. So all the things we are going to talk now during the next 11 minutes, 12 minutes are extremely important because you can apply no matter the clinic you have, more or less technified, more or less injectable, more or less cosmetics. And it's extremely easy to work with and extremely beneficial to put the proper protocol, to evaluate the protocol is working, and to give to the patient at the end a number. And numbers are also important to justify the treatment we have done. So let's start. So I'm Dr. Pablo Naranjo from Madrid, from Spain, and MD. My PhD is in physics. I've also done a master on research and an MBA on management of hospitals. So I'm director of my own clinic. We have 3 clinics. The most important one has dermatology and aesthetics doing the last 22 years, and we treat an average of 1,000, 8,000 patients per month on different skin conditions. So this is the company, Cortex company, Danish company. You know, for me, in European companies, I like Spanish companies, but normally in the north, they are much more serious. And serious says creating new brands and creating new technologies because they really test them and they don't give you till they are totally tested. I like Germans, I like Danish because they are extremely serious manufacturers of technology. So they lead the market of analysis, not just in aesthetic in dermatology, but of course in the the big laboratories in the world who test their own cosmetics. So they are totally well recognized by those companies since 40 years ago. They are not new. And they have an enormous expertise on that. So they come to the aesthetic, to the beauty, to the dermatology after 40 years of experience, and they try to help us with this DermaLab Aesthetic is not the full DermaLab combo I will show you, who have tons of different probes to measure whatever you want. This is much more simple. It has 5 different probes to measure the most important 5 things we can do in the skin. So the company has 3 big devices. I have the chance to have 1 of that, 2 of this one, 3 of this one, and 1 of this one. So I'm a fantastic investor in technology of diagnosis. So this one is very interesting if you have a laboratory or you want to do tests on your own creams, because you have, we'll see later, probes for whatever you want, but it's a bit more costly. So if you are starting in your clinic, probably the Mini, they call it the DermaLab Mini or DermaLab Aesthetic, is much more, it's less, half a cost, and you have the really important 5 probes you're gonna need in your clinic. You have also the colorimeter. Colorimeter is present in the big combo, but not in the small one. Colorimeter, if you do treatments on pigmentation and you do hair removal, like doctors, we don't like too much hair removal, but it's still to maintain our clinics. Electrolyte, diodes, IPLs. So very interesting for our nurses to know exactly the phototype of the patient, the amount of new melanin, so the recent tan skin, and to know the hemoglobin, to know exactly if there will be a risky treatment of hair removal, or for example, pigmented lesion removal or melasma removal because they have too much vascularization. So take care of that. Many times we commit some errors with our patient in very easy techniques like pigmented lesion, post-inflammatory pigmentation, or melasma, because we don't take care that 70% of the melasma, that was published in 2004, has excess of vascularization. And if you don't take care of that and you don't treat the vascularization before you treat the melanin, the pigmentation, or the iron, or the post-inflammatory pigmentation, the oxidated iron, you will commit an error and you will create more post-inflammatory pigmentation. So the small colorimeter gives you this information. It's a very easy and simple and low-cost tool, the small one we have here, but this is included in the big combo, okay? And then we have the DermaScan. The DermaScan, for me, my favorite. I understand it's a more expensive device, but if you do clinical studies, you go to the next level. So this device, the echography we can do with 20 megahertz with the combo, you see is amazing. Give us the thickness, exact thickness of the skin. It measures 100 times the dermis and give you an average number. So it's totally scientific, but it measures also the amount of proteins. So you can have an idea of how much collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid you have in your skin and how much you improve after a treatment session. With the DermaScan, you go to the next level because you can measure whatever you want in the layer you want. So I can measure high-level proteins like collagen and elastin in papillary dermis, or in reticular dermis, or in both papillary and reticular. I can measure the amount of retention of liquid. So this is more for research. I like it because I do a lot of research, but the simple one you have here is enough for regular clinic. You have the full amount of the proteins you are creating in the skin, taking care of both papillary and reticular for the full skin. It's more than enough for you. If you do clinical study, and like when I purchase a new device, a new fractional radiofrequency by interneedling, or a new laser, and say, we achieve a coagulation process with this Erbium jack of 600 microns. Say, okay, let me check. In 3 months, I will tell you if it's true or not. And we check how deep was the production of neocollagenesis due to the bulk heating of this laser. So extremely interesting also this device. So 1, 2, 3, 4 different tools, who, depending on what you want in your clinic, you can apply them. In the big combo, the one who is for real scientific clinics who do research or big laboratories, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 probes. So amazing. Probes, an ultrasound probe who give us information about the thickness of the dermis, thickness of the epidermis, and also the amount of proteins you have, collagen, elastin, and hyaluronic acid, all together, okay? Second, the transepidermal water loss. So very important for some diseases and for clinics who develop their own cosmetics to know the situation of the patient. This patient gonna need more or less oily cream. So this cream I put enable us to prevent the dehydration of the skin better or lower. Very interesting one for the one who work with cosmetics or some pathologies who enables the dehydration of the skin with a lot of inflammatory process. Good. Elasticity, extremely important. The device is able to measure 3 times by suction, boom, 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 measure the time of release of the skin. So when we stretch it, the time to come back. It transforms them into graphics and gives you a number. So when we do treatments on tantin, who are now the most important ones we do, endolifting, HIFU, fractional radiofrequency, threads, skin boosters, skin hydroxyapatite. So we need to measure if it's going to need more or less amount of product of sessions of energies, and if the is really a candidate for a more complex technique like a lifting, an endo lifting, or just with a HIFU, I will have good result. Extremely interesting. I think HIFU, this pro is one of the best one. Hydration pin. How hydrated is the skin? I want to do a fractional laser. I need to know the level of hydration, because if it's not the proper one, I need to do a pre-treatment to change the condition of the skin, to be able and to put a booster, to put a non-reticulated hyaluronic acid, to have a good result 1 week later with my technology. Colorimeter, the one I told you, who is outside or inside the device to measure the amount of melanin and the amount of hemoglobin and the tan skin. Incredible. So we are able to predict how tan is the skin, not to do a treatment because it's not the proper moment. DermaScope camera, if you want a very simple, it's not a photo. I like Photo Finder, I like a Visia dermatoscope. It's a simple one, but if you don't know it, if you are not testing pathologies in the skin, is more than enough. A very good dermoscope. Then you have the temperature. This is the one I apply less in my practice, but you can measure the temperature in the skin. Then the 7, extremely interesting. Not just for pathology like acne, but also just to know how, if it's an excess, and I need to remove it with a salicylic peeling because I want to do a radiofrequency, a regular radiofrequency. And the 7 is going to stop the electrical current. Very important, if I do a rosacea, the patient feels that they have some dryness of the skin, but they have acne rosacea, and they have not in an active moment of acne rosacea. And I commit an error if I put too much oily in oily cream, because they will develop those excess of kystetemium. So the way to prevent it is to measure before that. pH, interesting. Ultrasound in the subcutaneous, if you work on fat and you want to measure the thickness of the fat, how much thickness between dermis and fascia superficialis, between fascia superficialis and fascia muscularis, how much fibrotic septa, the degree of cellulite, if it should apply a cryolipolysis or is not the proper patient and I should apply a liposuction, ultrasound for body, and hydration flat. It's very similar to the hydration pin. I prefer the pin, it's much more sophisticated, but there is another way to measure. So this is the big combo. So for me, in my clinic, Elite Laser in Madrid, this is the key. So all my doctors, and we are now 7 in the clinic, we do diagnosis procedures. These take a bit of time. So at the beginning, take you 15 minutes to do all of them. My nurses who do the diagnosis, not diagnosis, they do the test, and they give the information to the doctor. So my doctors doesn't lose time on that. So my nurses are extremely well trained, and now in 5-7 minutes, they do all of them. They give us this information, and with this information, we do the consultation, and we do the second session, and we do the third session, and we do the control of the patient each time they come. So depending on the pathology, we apply all of them, we apply 2 or 3 of them. So you don't need to do, it's a medical device, but you can totally delegate to a nurse, and like doctors, you take the decision with that. So very interesting. So for example, one of the tests at the beginning, I don't buy devices if I don't have my own test. So I've done a test with a very important filler, hydration filler, non-reticulated hyaluronic acid from one of the biggest companies we have here. And I wanted to prove myself, after 1 week, the immediate efficacy of this filler they claim is the best hydrating filler we have in the market. So it was very interesting because I measured just a week later, and we have immediately, a week later, 25% increase on the hydration, 35% of increase of the hydration level in the skin. So very interesting. But I also measure before and after the intensity, not immediately, 3-month lasers. How much proteins are we able to create if we have, in this case, an inductor of neocollagenesis, hydroxyapatite, polylactic, 3 months after 1 session. So it's true we produce, the device gives me this information. This device, the ecography, gives me information in the full skin. It doesn't differentiate papillary and dermis. If I want to go to the next level, I know where I have, it depends also how deep I have done the injection, I need the other device. So very, very interesting. This is the small one. The one I tell you is much cheaper, it's half cost, and I have the big one, elasticity, for the elasticity of the skin, hydration, pH, collagen, and oilless. So more than enough, and also, evidently, the ecography. As you see, the device gives us an average, the number, this is the number for this patient of hydration, elasticity, pH of each one for this patient, And you see there is like an upper and lower level. So 2 minutes more, I'm finished. So this upper and lower level means the average in the world's population. But the most important thing, I don't want the world's population. I want my population in my clinic. One of the good things you have with this very nice company is you do your own test with the first 50 patients, 100 patients, and you just write the number. So woman with 35 years old, regular hormonally, in a good condition. Levels of all of them. And after 6 months, you tell the company to change those levels to your situation. So my hydration is not hydration of Indian people living in Calcutta. No, I'm in Madrid. So it's not the same. So you are able to position the average in your regular patients. So now you will compare not to the worldwide population, to your patients, the ones who come to your clinic. And the company will do very quick that if you give them the data. And it's also interesting because the more data you give to the company, it's important for you, but the company also changed the worldwide data to be much more accurate. And they have been doing it during the last 45 years, okay? So extremely beneficial, extremely easy to work with. This is the ecography, just 30 seconds more. Develop personalized protocols. Be sure that if you need to do a pre-treatment or not, be sure which kind of technology you need to apply. Be sure how much parameters, how high need to be the parameters, and take care of the patient, not beginning or end. So at the middle, do another test minimum. Be sure that you are in the proper way and you are doing a proper treatment. So very interesting. The company also enables you to have graphics. If you want to go to Congress or you want to go graphics to the patients, the device is controlled also by a monitor, by a regular computer, and you can monitorize all the evolution of the patient. So you can be as scientific as you want. So personalized, easy to work, cheap, no fungibles. The fungibles, they are pros to have no fungibles, absolutely zero. Ecography, pH, sebum. Okay, you need a specific rig for the sebum, but the cost is a few cents. So there is really no cost for that. And I promise you, I started with them a few years ago, and it changed the way we interact with the patients. And we move from 55% of consultations who remains in the clinic to 85% of consultations who remains in the clinic, because they see that we are in a next level. So we do personalized treatment. I justify, no, but my colleague has done a focus ultrasound. No, I have it, but I'm not going to do that. And I justify what? And I need a pre-treatment. And I will justify why. It's not because I want your money. It's because if I don't do the pre-treatment, the conditions are not the good one, and you will lose your money and your time and my credibility. Thank you very much. I hope to see you soon.